So looking at the MDT route that we're going to be covering off today, and a note, this works for tyrannical and fortified Kiwis. So starting off, we're going to drop down, we're going to double pull this pack here, and we're going to grab these shore runners as they pat through, turning it into a triple pull, and we're going to use our first hero or lust here. Watch out for this Goliath that'll pack back and forth. We don't want him, so we're going to run along the coastal edge here. We're going to pick up this double pack and again grab these shore runners as they pat in, turning this into another triple. We're then going to double pull here, and there are 2 scale binders in this pack, so just be aware of that. We're then going to move up and do this relic pack again with 2 scale binders and these shore runners as they come in here. We're going to kill Woe in this pack, and then we're going to zoom into Agrimar's vault passage here. Now we elect to pull the 4 Guardians. If you don't want to pull the 4 Guardians, you can elect to pull 3 packs of extra Murlocs out here to make up for that percent, and then you could just zoom to the boss. After the Guardians, we do the first boss Heilbrand. We then go through to Borealis Harbor, we pull all of these deckhands here, we move down to the beach and we go left to this relic pack first, and then we pick up this pack of 4 here, which moves up from the corner, and we just get them as they walk naturally up into this pack. We then get the 4 pack in front of the boss here. We then do the second boss, Time Captain Hooktail. We use our second lust or hero here, and then we go through to the Nexus. We skip this first mob here just by hugging the wall and moving around, and then we're going to pull this pack of 3 with this Starseer, and the aim is to pull it all the way back here so the Starseer's abilities don't pull the pat for us. If you've got a CC available, CC one of these mobs to stop the pat from moving, preferably in the middle. We then ideally want to do this pack of 3 here with the Starseer, again pulling it back over to this area, and then finish up with the pat, and then go into the last boss Salia, where we'll use our hero and lust once again in the second phase. So let's check out the commentary run. So let's have a look at the run. So I'm using a plus 26 to start with on the beach here because we didn't stuff any of these pulls up. And then I'm going to move to a plus 25 from the first boss on, as that was a lot cleaner. So opening triple pack here, watch out for these shell crushers. Now they will do a cry that enrages all nearby Murlocs, increasing their damage done by 50%. This will also act as a double enrage on enrage week, so just keep that in mind. They'll also do a shell cracker ability, which is a large physical hit and a knockback. The Fishmancers cast water bolts and volatile pufferfish. Just try and kick these. If the pufferfish goes off, it's a swirl on the ground that explodes for frost damage. Just don't be standing in it. And the shore runners, they melee, don't do much else. The Murlocs will also run as well, so just make sure you watch that they're not bringing you back any extra friends. Once they're down, we're moving over into the left corner here, and we're going to do this next triple pack, and the same rules apply. However, we have a new mob to contend with here, and it is the Scalebinder. Now the Scalebinders cast Fish Invigoration, which drops an invigorating fish stick, which decreases damage taken by all Murlocs by 25%, sorry. You need to stun this cast, so anything you've got to disorientate, stun, or knock it off the cast, make sure you use it. If the cast does go off, make sure you switch to the fish stick ASAP and kill it. Once we're done with this pack, we're going to progress up the beach to this next double pack, which has got 2 scale binders in it. So assign 1 person to each scale binder to make sure that they're getting the stun, you can't interrupt the stun when they go to use the fish invigoration, and you shouldn't have too many issues. Again, that's the biggest thing to watch out for in this pack. Once that's dead, we're going to progress up here to this relic pack. Now again, 2 scale binders in this pack, so assign 1 person to each scale binder for a stun. We're going to pick up this shore runner pack as it comes in. We do not want this Goliath behind it, so watch out, and we are killing Woe in this pack as well. If you manage to somehow stuff up your Woe timing here and you kill Woe too quickly, or worst case scenario, you don't actually kill Woe, somebody murders the wrong relic, you can use an invis pot to get into the passage from here. Don't panic if that happens. But otherwise, make sure you get your stuns on your fish sticks, kill Woe late towards the end of the pack if you can, and then we're going to Woe, skip all the way into the passageway where we're going to fight the 4 Guardians. So once we're in the passage, we're going to pull the 4 Guardians. They'll do a frontline stomp called Crackle, which shoots out lightning on the ground. Just don't stand in this, and a charge pulse, which is a big circle. If you can manage to pull these at the same time, meaning your tank gets, say, the top 2 and a DPS pulls the bottom 2, you can attempt to sync up their cast, which makes this a lot easier. Otherwise, you just need to make the most out of the space in the passageway. Go up and down it. You know, the crackle does actually sort of dissipate over time, meaning you can move from one end to the other, but you just need to make sure you're not standing in the lines of crackle, you're moving out of the charge pulse, and it shouldn't be too bad. Again, if you don't want to kill these, you can kill 3 packs of Murlocs extra on the beach, and there's an MDT in the description for that one. Once we're done with these, we're heading to the first boss, Heilbrand. So the first thing to know about Heilbrand as a boss is this boss hits really hard. Shearing Swings is a 2 consecutive swing combo that deals large physical damage hits back to back. Heilbrand will also do a frontal slam called Titanic Crash. Try not to point this at your group. Try and point the boss in one direction for the entirety of the fight so your group knows where the safe spot is, and then all you need to do is sidestep out of the Titanic Smash. Periodically, these Purifier adds will spawn. Pick them up ASAP. You can grip, you can stun them, you can knock them, get them under the boss ASAP to be able to be cleaved down. You can also help stun and interrupt them when they go to cast as well. Now in the intermission phase, when the console becomes active, the number one thing I can recommend to you is getting the weak aura that is in the description below. This makes life so easy, especially for non-voice pug groups, and it just makes everything easy in announcing which runes go to what consoles. You can see how it works on the screen there. Super simple. This fight is 100% rinse repeat of what you've just seen now. Now, as the tank, it seems to default to your role to do the console from what I've experienced so far in pugs. This does depend though. You can see at the top of the screen where there's the Purge by Fire. So a DPS will get chased with a laser, which is about to go off now. If this gets stacked over the top of the runes that need to be picked up to run into the consoles, that can deal a lot of damage to DPS. If one of the runes is covered in this stuff, you could elect one of the DPS to go and do the console, and you as the tank could run and pick up the relic, as you'll have a much better chance of surviving running through that than a DPS will. So that's just something, you can play by ear. As I said, Heilbrand does really hurt. Make sure you have your defensives rolling on this, especially for the Shattering Swings. It does deal quite a bit of damage. As long as you've got defensives and active mitt rolling though, you shouldn't have too many issues. So once we've got Heilbrand down, which is quite a long fight on Tyrannical, we're going to take a portal and we're going to get out of here and move off to Borealis Harbor. So once we get out of here, I thought the portal would have spawned by now. Let's get out of here. Okay, once we're out of here, we're going to pick up all of these deckhands in one pull. Now the deckhands use an ability called Super Saison, which increases their damage dealt by 50%, and then they all use an ability called Haymaker, which deals massive physical damage, especially when it's buffed by Saison. So remember, there are 4 of them in this pool, which means if the Super Saison goes off, you can get whacked in quick succession by 4 of them, causing you to take very large bursts of damage. There's also 2 Tide Sages in this pool. You'll want to try and kick the Brackish Bolts as they deal quite a bit of damage, and avoid the tidal bursts on the ground that are water pools. They'll explode and knock you up. So use a cooldown, absolutely going to this. There is a lot of damage that comes out of this pull. We kill here, we don't have too many issues, but again, be liberal with your CDs. Then we're going to run off down to the beach, and we're going to fight the Relic Pack, which is down to the left here. So there'll be 2 Tide Sages in this pack and a Deckhand, so the exact same rules apply. The new mob in this pack is an Officer, which has a frontal and a toss ricocheting sword thing that bounces to targets within 6 yards. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up fighting them here. We're going to kill and then we're just going to organically, there's a pat in the corner. We're just going to organically, what a great term, pull that pat as it walks in towards us. So we're not going out of our way to get them. We're just going to pick them up as they walk into us. So then we'll end up with another Tide Sage, another 2 Deckhands, and another Officer. I have seen groups move to the corner first and then come and fight this pack. This just works out quite easy as they walk up to you anyway, and then you can just naturally pull them in. So once we've dealt with that, we're going to fight the last 4 mobs in front of the boss here. Oops, I've gone too far, sorry. We're going to fight this last 2 mobs, and again, 2 Officers, 2 Side Sages, so the same applies. And then we're going into Hooktail. Now for Hooktail, we're going to use our second hero here. So we used our first hero, Or Lust, on the beach on the opening pool, and this is where we are using our second hero, Or Lust. Now for Hooktail, you want to try starting with the boss in the far corner, as this gives you the best field of view to kill the adds as they're running up the shore. It also gives you the widest berth with the breath, as the breath gets wider and wider the further distance. So if you're in the corner facing down to the shoreline, you have a much larger radius to catch the adds in. What you're going to do with Hooktail is just move slightly out of the corner as these fire patches spawn, and you just want to start moving the boss out and down sort of on an angle towards the shoreline. You can also trace the sort of the pathway of this cliff up the top, and move along the rocks and then go back. However, I find starting in the corner here and then just moving out to be quite effective. And then when the fire patch is clear, I just retrace back to the corner that I started in and go again. Now, slows are incredibly valuable, like Death and Decay with the 90% slow for DKs is absolutely huge in dropping it out, catching the ads in it. Ring of Peace can be fantastic for knocking them back. Cap totems, whatever you've got stuns and slows wise, binding shots to be able to catch the ads in is absolutely worth doing. There's not a hell of a lot that actually goes on here from the tank point of view. The biggest thing is just pointing the breath at the ads. There's not much else to survive. So you can see here that the fire patches sort of started to clear, and then I've managed to get the boss back up into this top corner to restart my route coming out again. And it just makes it a lot easier to hit those ads. So once Hooktail's down here, we are going to take the portal through to the Nexus, and then we're going to skip this first mob as we come out into the Nexus. And all you've got to do is just hug the wall and run around it. There's no other tricks to that or anything like that. What we're going to do is we're going to pull this pack of 3 here and this Starseer. We don't want to get this pat here at the moment, and we want to bring this Starseer when we grab it all the way back over to here. Now, the Starseer will cast 2 abilities that you need to watch for. One is Drifting Star, so wherever the mob is facing, a Drifting Star will fly out of that. It deals massive shadow damage if it hits you. It will kill your DPS or healer if it hits them, so make sure people are paying attention to that. The Starseer will also cast out a Wandering Pulsar, which everyone needs to switch to, as this pulses arcane damage, and it's the reason that you want to pull the mobs back as far as you can away from the pat, so that pulsar doesn't get thrown out into the middle or somewhere awkward, which causes you to body pull other things. The Ritualist will cast Hyperbolt. Try and kick these. The Accomplice will cast Reinvigorate, which you must kick or stun. This is a heal. It obviously prolongs the pull if it goes off, which you don't want happening. Now you can Hex, Poly, Sap, Blind, or Root one of the mobs in the pat to stop them from moving, which is what we've done, and they're currently stuck in the middle because our goal here was to pull this 3 and this 1 Starseer and then do the same on the other side. Now you can see they're stuck in the middle, but Sap's just worn off. So what we wanted to do was we just wanted to do the same thing again. However, unfortunately, we Sap one. We couldn't remember which one you actually had to sap. I think it was this one here that you actually have to sap to not pull. They start to move, and then what actually happens is they aggro into us. So now, instead of doing this relic pack in the Starseer, we end up doing the pat and this relic pack, which is still fine. There's just a lot of kicks to watch and a lot of damage going out. So a little bit scuffed, but it manages to work out okay. And then we end up getting the Starseer in just towards the end, and we fight this Starseer. If you don't want to do those, you can absolutely break these up on their own. You can do the 3, the Starseer on its own. You could do the pat, the relic pack, and then the Starseer on its own. You know, you can change these orders to whatever you like. Then we're going to go into the last boss, Salia. Now, before we get into Salia, there is a strat that goes around, and you can absolutely do it if you like. You can pick up Salia and drag Salia into this little triangle here between the table and the wall here. If you tank Salia in here, the assassins will spawn directly on top of you, meaning you don't have to worry about getting them in, and they can get cleaved down straight away. However, it's not really a big deal. You can absolutely just start with Salia, where Salia is spawned for this encounter to take place, and that's exactly what we do, but it's completely up to you. So Salia will be our 3rd hero or lust. You can see we've still got 3 minutes before it's up, but you'd be waiting for that 40% phase 2 before you heroed anyway. Ensure when the assassins spawn that you pick them up straight away. You can grip them, you can knock them, you can stun them. They do that Shuriken Blitz. Just make sure they're being kicked and they'll run back into whoever has aggro, and they get cleaved down really quickly anyway. Salia will put out a collapsing star, which has 4 charges on it that you need to detonate by running into the star itself. The star lasts for 30 seconds in total, and each time you run into the star and detonate a charge, a debuff goes out onto your group, which inflicts arcane damage for 3 seconds. You just want the debuff to fall off, and then you run into the star again until there's no charges left. You can also leave 1 charge left on the star, and then at the end of the 30 seconds, it will just detonate. It's only 1 charge, the 3-second debuff goes out, and there's no problems in doing that. You don't want to leave 2 charges on there though, for example, when the star expires and explodes. It's just a lot of damage that goes out. You can see here the assassins keep spawning, and then at 40%, Salia sort of goes into Nani final form mode. So we're hitting 40% here. Salia will blink into the middle, and we'll do this change thing. Now 5 stars appear around the boss with red arrows linking to you and your party, and you need to position yourself so the red arrow is going through the star to destroy it. So make sure your red arrow is going through the star, and when the hyperlight jolt goes off, the bolt goes out and you destroy these stars, and then they all relocate around the encounter space. Now it's important that you look at where these stars are and position yourself in a safe position, because when an energy fragment goes out, these stars explode and it starts a bit of a chain reaction. As you can see, projectiles fire out from the stars. You just need to make sure that you dodge them. You will still have collapsing stars going on throughout this phase as well, so you need to watch out for that. So the collapsing star will be spawning, the energy fragments will be going, and these hyperlight novas come out as well. Big golden circles that you just don't want to stand in. Pretty normal WoW stuff. So we're continuing to do the soak here on the collapsing star. As you can see, you need to make sure that you're thinking about where the stars are as well for when the energy fragments come out. And then occasionally Salia will return to the middle of the encounter space and do the hyperlight jolt again, and that's when the red arrows come out and you need to go and stand on the stars to make sure you're destroying them. It can be really awkward because the stars are spread out so far across the encounter space, and you can see it happening here. Communication's really important, that one person goes to each star, and you can see I'm actually standing too close in, and what happened is my star didn't get destroyed. Now the problem is the hyper jolt or hyperlight jolt leaves a debuff on you. Because I didn't destroy mine because I wasn't standing far enough back, I was standing inside, we end up with 2 stacks of that debuff, which is far from ideal. So just be aware of that. This boss otherwise is just a rinse repeat of all of this until Salia is dead. So that's it. Any questions, hit me up in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you so much for checking out the guide. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all next time. See you, fam.